Hi, everyone. Today we're talking about a book that completely changes how you think about money. It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. If you're expecting this book to tell you which stock to buy or where to invest, that's not what this is. This book goes much deeper. It's about how our minds actually think about money, the mistakes we keep repeating, and why someone with a great salary can still feel stressed about money, while someone earning far less can feel completely at peace. One of the author's most interesting points is this: making money isn't really a finance skill, it's a behavior skill. You could be the smartest engineer, doctor, or scholar, but if your behavior around money is off, you'll keep making bad decisions. On the other hand, someone with an average education, if their behavior is right, can build serious wealth over time. Today, I'm going to walk you through every major lesson from this book in simple language with real examples, so this doesn't stay theory, it actually changes how you operate. Let's get into it. Lesson 1. No one is crazy about money. The author's first and most important point is this: everyone's relationship with money is different, and it's shaped by their own personal experience, not by textbooks. Think of it this way. A kid born in America in 1970 watched the stock market grow tenfold during their youth. For them, investing feels like a straightforward money machine. But a kid born just 20 years earlier, in 1950, watched the market go nowhere for 2 decades while inflation ate away at their savings. For them, investing feels like gambling. Both were born in the same country, just a 20-year gap in age, and yet their entire relationship with money belongs to 2 completely different worlds. Now, connect this to your own life. Maybe there's someone older in your family who thinks twice about every small purchase, who's careful with even tiny amounts of money. It might look like stinginess to you, but maybe they once lived through real financial hardship, and that fear never fully leaves, no matter how much money they have today. Similarly, if someone spends freely, don't assume they're careless. Maybe they've never experienced real financial scarcity, so money doesn't scare them the same way. The author's point is, no 2 people, even the same age, living in the same city, will make identical financial choices. So don't judge someone's financial choices as foolish. Everyone is carrying a story you've never seen. Lesson 2. Luck and risk always travel together. Here, the author tells a deeply moving story. Bill Gates went to a school called Lakeside, which happened to have a computer at a time when almost no schools in America did. That's what let him start coding at 13, an opportunity almost no other kid his age had. But Gates had an equally close friend, Kent Evans, just as smart, just as hardworking. The 2 of them used to stay up late together learning to code. If things had gone differently, Microsoft might have had 3 founders instead of 2. But before high school ended, Kent Evans died in a mountain climbing accident. Gates went on to become one of the richest people in the world. Kent Evans's name is barely known today. The author's point: their effort was equal. Their talent was equal. The only difference was luck. So when you read the story of someone wildly successful, don't assume if I just copy exactly what they did, I'll get the same result. Their success may owe a lot to luck you simply can't replicate. And in the same way, if someone works incredibly hard and still fails, don't write them off as lazy or foolish. They may have made all the right calls, luck just didn't show up. That's why the author advises, don't worship any one person or company too much, and don't judge failure too harshly either. Instead, trust general principles that hold up across most situations: patience, saving, not overexposing yourself to risk, because those things don't depend on luck.
Lesson 3. Learn to say, "This is enough." This might be the most jarring lesson in the whole book. The author tells the real story of Rajat Gupta, a man who rose from a modest background to become the global CEO of McKinsey, one of the world's biggest consulting firms, and later joined the board of Goldman Sachs. He was already a billionaire, but one day he learned confidential information that Warren Buffett was about to make a massive investment in Goldman Sachs minutes before the announcement. Gupta leaked that information to a friend so he could profit from it. It was completely illegal. He got caught and went to prison. His reputation and credibility gone in an instant. Think about it. This man already had more than enough to secure generations of his family, and still he never felt like it was enough. He wanted to join a league he wasn't yet part of, and that hunger cost him everything. The author says some things in life genuinely have no ceiling, like fame or the hunger for power. But when it comes to money, learning to say this is enough is essential, because the fastest way to lose what you already have is to risk it all chasing more. Think about yourself. When your salary goes up, does it bring you peace? Or are within a few days you're chasing the next thing again? The moment you accept that what you have is enough, you find real peace. Otherwise, you'll keep comparing yourself to others, and no matter how much you earn, someone will always be ahead. That comparison never ends. Lesson 4. Understand compounding. The real power is time, not skill. Here's a number that might change how you think. Nearly 99% of Warren Buffett's entire net worth was earned after he turned 50. Think about that. After 50. Buffett started investing at age 10, so for 40 years he was just a good investor, not an extraordinary one. The real explosion happened after that, because compounding grows very slowly at first, then suddenly accelerates after a certain point, like a tortoise that looks painfully slow at the start, but never actually stops moving forward. If Buffett had retired at 30, which by most standards would have been considered a wildly successful life, we probably wouldn't even know his name today. The author says Buffett's real superpower isn't stock picking, it's staying in the market without panicking for 70 or 80 years straight. Most people lose right here. They wait 5 years, don't see dramatic results, and pull their money out right before the turn where the real magic was about to begin. The lesson is clear. The earlier you start, the better. But even more important is staying invested for as long as possible. Compounding needs time, not urgency. Lesson 6. Making money and keeping money are two completely different games. This lesson runs deep, so pay attention. Making money requires courage to take risks, optimism, and the drive to keep pushing forward. But keeping money requires the exact opposite: fear, humility, and a deep understanding that luck played a role in what you've earned, which means it can be taken away just as easily. People who stay wealthy for decades aren't the fastest or the smartest investors. They're the most cautious and the most fearful ones. They know that if they're wiped out completely even once, coming back is nearly impossible. So, the author says, in investing, avoiding ruin matters more than winning. You can be wrong 19 times out of 20, no problem. Just avoid the one decision that wipes you out completely, the one with no way back. Survival, over the long run, is the biggest win there is. Lesson 6. A few rare big wins decide everything. The author talks about tail events, the rare moments that change everything. For example, in Amazon's early days, most people who spread investments across many different companies saw most of those investments fail badly. But just one company, Amazon, made up for all of that and delivered enormous returns on top of it. This is true in investing and in life. 95 out of 100 attempts might fail, but if just 5 succeed, those 5 can rewrite the entire story. So the real question isn't whether you'll be wrong. Being wrong is almost guaranteed. The real question is whether you'll stay in the game long enough for that one big opportunity to arrive. Most people quit after the third or fourth failure, and that's exactly why they never make it to that big win.
Lesson 7. The greatest power of money is freedom. Many people think the power of money means an expensive car, a big house, branded clothes. But the author says the greatest dividend money pays is freedom. The freedom to spend your time on your own terms. The freedom to choose work you actually want to do. The freedom to walk away from a toxic boss or a toxic relationship without being trapped there purely for financial reasons. Here, the author makes a fascinating point, which he calls the man in the car paradox. When you see someone driving an expensive car, what do you actually think? Wow, that person is so successful. Not really. Most people think, I wish I had a car like that. That person doesn't earn respect by showing off the car. People just start wanting the car itself, not the person driving it. So if the goal is genuine respect, showing off expensive things isn't the way to get it. Real respect comes from humility, kindness, and wisdom, not from display. Lesson 8. Real wealth is what you don't see. Connected to this is a deeper truth. People who buy big cars and big houses are essentially converting their wealth into stuff. That money is no longer wealth sitting with them, it's now an object. The truly wealthy person is the one with money quietly sitting in the bank, unseen by anyone, but that's the real power. It's what protects you during hard times and what lets you seize opportunities when they show up. So next time someone looks extremely rich to you, remember, you're seeing their spending, not their wealth. Real wealth is almost always invisible. Lesson 9. Savings matter more than salary. The author says your wealth isn't built by your salary, it's built by your savings habit. Someone earning a huge income but spending all of it is poorer than someone earning far less who saves a meaningful chunk of it. Building wealth doesn't require a massive salary or a genius investment strategy. It just requires widening the gap between what you earn and what you spend. And you widen that gap by keeping your ego in check, by not spending to impress people. The author adds, you don't need a specific reason to save. We don't know what the future holds is reason enough on its own. Lesson 10. Choose the decision that lets you sleep at night. Many finance experts insist you should make the mathematically optimal decision, but the author says math isn't enough. You should make the decision that lets you sleep peacefully at night, even if it's not the perfect number on paper. For example, mathematically, it might make more sense to invest using borrowed money, but if it costs you your sleep and keeps you in constant fear, it's not the right decision. The real purpose of money is peace of mind, not just the biggest number on a spreadsheet. Lesson 11. History is not a guarantee of the future. We often assume that looking at historical data lets us accurately predict the future, but the author warns history is only a record of what has already happened. It's not a map of what's coming next. Every major financial crisis, every major boom is unique in its own way. People who rely purely on past data to predict the future are often wrong because the world keeps changing. New technology, new regulations, new people. The biggest economic events are usually the ones nobody saw coming at all. Lesson 12. Always leave room for error. When planning your finances, always assume your predictions could turn out wrong. That's why you should always build some margin of safety into your budget and your investments, so that when the unexpected happens, and it eventually will, you don't fall apart completely. People who bet everything they have with no safety net can lose it all in a single blow. The author says, whatever margin of safety you think you need, keep a bit more than that, because the future is almost always more unpredictable than we expect. Lesson 13. You will keep changing. Plan for that. The dreams you have at 20 might look completely different by 40. So don't build your entire life plan around one fixed version of yourself. Assume your thinking, your goals, and your priorities will shift over time, and keep enough flexibility in your decisions to absorb that change. A plan that feels perfect today might not match who you are 10 years from now. Lesson 14. Volatility isn't a punishment, it's the price of admission. Finally, the author leaves us with a crucial truth. The risk, the losses, and the uncertainty in investing aren't a punishment, they're the cost of entry. Just like you pay for a ticket to enjoy a theme park, you pay in volatility to earn returns from the market. People who accept that this price has to be paid don't panic when markets fall. They stay the course. People who expect profit without paying any price get shattered by every downturn and often sell at exactly the wrong moment, right when they should have held on. If this entire book had to be summed up in one line, it's this: your success with money is decided by your behavior, not your intelligence. Ronald Read, an ordinary janitor who spent his life working at a gas station and cleaning stores, left behind roughly $8 million purely through patience and discipline. Meanwhile, a Harvard-educated executive who had everything went bankrupt overnight because he lacked exactly that patience. Anyone, regardless of salary, who stays patient, stays content, and knows their limits can become genuinely wealthy. And anyone, no matter how brilliant, who keeps crossing every line out of greed can lose it all. Money isn't a math problem. Money is a story of your fears, your dreams, your patience. And you're the one writing that story every single day, one decision at a time. If you enjoyed this book summary, let me know in the comments which book you'd like summarized next.